Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our daily word today. Today is Monday, November 29th of the year 2021. You can see I have my helper with me this morning. This is Weston. He's my youngest grandson, and he's hanging out with me today because he's getting tubes in his ears tomorrow. And so we decided that he better not be around other kids and just stay with Pawpaw today. So glad you could join us for our time together. Can you tell everybody hi? Weston, can you say hi? Not going to do it, are you? So for today's scripture, because we began the season of Advent yesterday, and Advent really is about waiting. It's about the season of waiting. It's about preparing ourselves for the incarnation of the Christ in our lives. We light candles at Advent, hope, peace, joy, and love. Pat made an interesting observation yesterday. We had our Advent story time and we read the book, What is God Like? And we talked about lighting the Advent candles. And I said yesterday during worship that, hi, Bubby, that, we light one candle. And the one candle of hope, we have the audacity to light one candle, thinking that one candle and that our quest and our searching for hope is enough, to dispel some darkness. And Pat made an interesting point that, time goes by really quick, and suddenly on Christmas Eve we have 5 candles, and everyone in worship is holding a candle. Hi, Bubby. And it changes our lives, and so Advent is about coming back, is about going to the mountaintop, is about waiting, is about all these things that happen in our lives. So from Micah chapter 4, verse 2, we hear these words. Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that the Lord may teach us the way, and that we may walk in God's paths. So sometimes I think in our lives, even in the season of Advent, we find ourselves on autopilot. We go from here to there and do the things we're supposed to do. We get caught up in all the things that keep us busy, all the things that demand our attention. Hi, Bubby. And just because we're on autopilot doesn't mean that we're going in a straight line. Mama's at work. Mommy's at work too. So if we went in a straight line, if we were just on autopilot and went in a straight line, we would, yes, Bubby, we would crash. So for us, we just can't, go about being on autopilot and just going through the motions of life and never recalibrating, never thinking about what it might mean to be pushed by the wind, to be driven by the snow, to be changed by the terrain, or even to pause just for an hour to come to worship on Sunday morning, or to pause a little bit longer on Wednesday night to come to Advent Wednesday night to, if you will, recalibrate, because we don't know what's between us and our destination. Hi, Bubby. We don't know. All things kind of happen to us in the midst of our lives. Micah reminds us that when people strayed very far from God's path, and when people started naming their own gods, and look, we certainly do that, right? The God of busyness. We like to look at our calendars and we brag about it on Facebook, right? How busy we are and how many things demand our attention. We name them our God. And Micah, in this text, calls us back to the mountain of the Lord where God teaches us again. When we live in fear of all the things that happen around us, Micah is the one who reminds us about swords beaten into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. Micah calls us, climb that mountain and come back to God. Recalibrate, if you will, and we'll get through the storm. Advent calls us to draw near. Advent calls us to find our way back to Bethlehem. And I think about that, yesterday morning when we gathered for worship and we lit the first candle and we sang some Advent songs. We sang a new prayer song. We sang a new Advent candle lighting song. And, many times when we sing new songs, hi, Bubby, people get anxious, But I'm just convinced that by the time we get through Advent, we'll know these songs and they'll become a part of who we are. We sang, the choir sang, O come, Emmanuel. It draws us back. And so I'm going to just remind you and invite you in this season of Advent to come up to the mountain of the Lord, come back to the house of the God of Jacob. God's going to teach us. We can't simply be on autopilot. We can't simply let the God of busyness guide our lives as we brag about it. We have to draw near to Bethlehem, to come back to God. And maybe what that means for us, it means for us that we have to climb the mountain, to set aside the hour on Sunday morning, set aside the hour and a half on Wednesday night, and know that where God meets us in this place in our lives is where we need to be. So Micah reminds us, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that the Lord may teach us the way and that we may walk in God's path. I pray that in this season of Advent, that it's pretty, yes, that we would turn off the autopilot and that we would find our way back to where God's meeting us, to climb the mountain, if you will, and to come back to God and to draw near as we together make our way to Bethlehem. That's the word for today. That's the word from me and Mr. Weston. We hope you have a great day. Know of God's love that surrounds you. Know of my love for all of you. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.